Join us at Walters on Friday, October 4th for our end-of-season podcast party. The evening is scheduled from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m.
The 2-2. Swinging a ground ball left side. Abrams dives, can't get it. Base hit, left field. Heading home, Vientos. Woods' throw toward the plate is cut off by Vargas. Vientos slides in safely, and the Mets lead 4-0. 0-1. Swinging a long drive, right center field. Cruz back, warning track wall, and it is long gone. Into the Nationals bullpen. The Mets have scored 9 runs in the inning. It is 9-0.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Thursday, September 19th, 2024, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who was at Citi Field in New York City. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. So when it comes to games against National League East rivals in MLB's 2024 regular season, the Nationals went 19-7 against the Atlanta Braves and Miami Marlins, but now are just 4-19 against the Philadelphia Phillies and New York Mets. Wednesday night, a 10-0 loss at the Mets to complete a 3-game sweep, and to conclude the Nats going just 2-11 against the Mets. The Nats now are 68-84, must go at least 4-6 over their final 10 games in order to surpass last regular season's record of 71-91. This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Mason Kalfas and his team of 10 legal recruiters at Zenith Legal in Washington, D.C. Check out Mason's website today, zenithlegal.com, or call or text Mason anytime, 202-486-3535. The big inning, again, dooming the Nats. They on Wednesday night allowed 9 runs in the bottom of the 4th. The Nats totaled no runs and just 3 hits. 15th shutout loss for the Nats. 15 of their 84 losses. 17.9% of the team's losses have been shutout losses. And Mark, you look at this 3-game sweep at the Mets. The series began with a tight, competitive 2-1 10-inning loss on Monday night, but the Nats end up losing the final 2 games of the series by a combined score of 21.
Well, Al, if you came into this series saying, okay, here's an opportunity to find out how the young Nationals could stand up to the pressure of a pennant race, could they, if not win, at least show well, look like they weren't spooked by the lights, anything like that. Game 1, you could say that, even though they lost it. Games 2 and 3, not so much. These were complete blowouts against the Mets. And as you pointed out, this has been going on all year with the Mets. This has been a terrible matchup for the Nationals this season for whatever reason that may be. And these last 2 games kind of underscored it. And so do I think that the results of these games have any bearing on them going into next year? No. Not really, but it would have been nice to generate a little bit more positive momentum, to just feel like, okay, they're not there yet, but they're on the rise. They hung with the team that's battling for a playoff spot, and instead they rolled over these 2 games. And I'll tell you what, we still got a week and a half to go, and the Mets lead is only 2 games over the Braves, so anything can still happen. But if the Mets make it, the Nationals will have played a huge role in making that happen because, as you said, 2-11 against the Mets this year, 8-5 against the Braves this year. Just change those results a little bit, and you may have a different team making the playoffs.
For sure. And regarding getting to that 72-win mark and surpassing last season's mark of 71-91, I think all along we felt that it's probably going to happen. I think now, it is up in the air. You're talking, you got to go at least 4-6 over the final 10 games. That certainly is doable, but you have 4 games at the Chicago Cubs and then a 6-game homestand, 3 games against the Kansas City Royals, 3 games against the Philadelphia Phillies. These are not rollover, give me opponents here for the Nats. Like, these are decent, if not good teams that the Nats will be facing. Now, who knows exactly what, say, the Phillies will be playing for in that final series, but I do think this is in jeopardy. Like, the Nats getting to last season's record, surpassing last season's record. We shouldn't just assume that that's going to happen.
No, 100%. I think the saving grace may be that the Cubs, they're not officially out of it, but it's a long shot for them now. So at a 4-game series at Wrigley Field, you're hoping maybe you win 2 of those 4. That takes care of 2 of the wins. The Royals absolutely are playing for their lives right now. They just got swept by the Tigers. The Tigers, who may make the playoffs out of nowhere, all of a sudden. So Kansas City is going to feel the need to win all those games. And as you said, the Phillies, we'll see. They're going to have clinched the division by then, but they may be competing for home field advantage between them and the Dodgers over that last weekend. So you don't really know for sure how it's going to go. But I'd also say this, while it would certainly be nice and you'd like to believe that in the course of a rebuild that you're going to go up in your win total each year, I don't think at this point the number of games they end up winning at the end of the season, whether it's 70, 72, 74, whatever it is, I don't think that changes the outlook for next year at all. I think we know where they've made their improvements, where they still need to improve, what they need to do this winter to try to get to that next level. Yeah, it wouldn't be the best look if they end up with the same record or, God forbid, even worse. But I don't think that necessarily matters that much in terms of, if they only win 70 games this year, does that make this year a failure or a disappointment? No, I think they're in a better position at the end of this year than they were a year ago, regardless of what the final record actually says.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not super invested in what that final record is, but I know that there are people within the organization who certainly are and would like for them to finish with a better record than what the team had last season. And, it does speak against what we were hoping this season would be, which was this giant step forward season. Now, there are certainly reasons for optimism, but the notion of this season being the step forward season, I mean, the comp that I was using was the 2022 Orioles. That's not what this season is. I mean, let's make that crystal clear. They are going to have to fight and scratch and claw just to match last season's record, let alone surpass it. And even if they do surpass it, it probably won't be by, say a game or two, something like that. It's not going to be by like 5, 6, 7, 10 games, that kind of a thing. And so that to me is disappointing. Like if you are trying to sell hope, I think it is a little tricky to do that if you're having a hard time just getting to last season's modest win total of 71. Now, again, it doesn't necessarily change things for next season. They could make a massive leap next season. And, there is that possibility, I've referenced this, of maybe you do finish with an especially bad record this year. It actually helps you when it comes to your first round pick in the 2025 draft. And then you take the leap forward next season. And, oh, by the way, next season, you have a super high draft pick. So maybe, you can flesh out that inside straight. But it is disappointing that from a record standpoint, this season is not what it could have been, what we were hoping it would be. You look at recent successful rebuilds, the breakout season happens, it happens emphatically, and it happens usually a season sooner than expected. You apply those things to this season, and this season could have been / should have been that season for the Nats, and it has not been that season. And I think that it's worth pointing that out. Heck, you go back to the Nats' last rebuild. This season could have been like 2011, in which the Nats went 80-81 and then busted out in 2012. The Nats ain't going no 80-81 this season. So as much as we want to think about this season as maybe the 2011 and the next season is the 2012, maybe that's the case. I'm not trying to say that that can't be the case, but you have a hard time making that case if the team doesn't even match last season's record.
Sure. And I think the beauty of the last rebuild was that each year you saw a significant increase from 59 to 69 to 80, and then the big leap to 98 in 2012. And so that's not going to be the case this time. And just think back, it wasn't that long ago. It was in June that we were saying, hey, this team might be hanging around in a wild card race. And not that we thought they were going to hold on in the end, but you thought, hey, they can keep this thing going into July maybe, and then you cool off at the end, but you're calling up the kids later in the year. Maybe they're actually going to finish strong with all these young, exciting prospects playing for them now. That hasn't been the case. It has not translated into wins and losses here late in the season. What it all just means is this. For them to really win next year, to be in contention and even in theory playing in October, it's going to be a significant leap. Now, it can happen. And look at the American League right now. Look at what the Royals and the Tigers have done from one year to the next. It wouldn't even have to be as big a leap as they have both made. But it will be a bigger leap than you would have ideally wanted it to be. You'd like to think it's like a 10-game improvement or a 15-game improvement year to year. And for the Nationals to pull it off in 2025, it's going to have to be more like an 18-game improvement, 20-game improvement. Again, it's possible. Stranger things have happened, and certainly there's a lot of pieces that you can see getting better from year to year, and depends on what they do this offseason to try to fortify their roster. So, yeah, I think on an emotional level, it's going to be disappointing when you look up at what the final win total is and say, boy, it feels like they should have made more improvement in that regard this year, because take out the record, and you do feel like there have been improvements.
Hey, are you a law firm partner or an associate stuck on an underperforming franchise? Do what Nationals legend Max Scherzer did. Demand a trade. There might be greener pastures and a lot more money at another law firm for you and your team at another law firm, not to mention better management and better services to offer your clients. The law firm lateral partner market is still red hot, and Nats Chat sponsor Mason Kalfas is the best legal recruiter in Washington, D.C. or anywhere. And Mason wants to help you find a new and better home. Mason Kalfas, put him to work for you. Mason will sit down with you and understand your practice and career or financial goals. He will confidentially discuss your candidacy with law firms that are contenders, not 60-win teams. You can reach Mason or any of his team of 7 recruiters at 202-486-3535 or email Mason at mason@zenithlegal.com. That's 202-486-3535 or via email at mason@zenithlegal.com. Go Nats! The Nats will be contenders very soon, and you can be a contender even sooner.
Hey, Nats Chat, want to tell you about Mint Mobile's premium wireless package starting at $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/natschat. That's mintmobile.com/natschat. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/natschat. $45 upfront payment required. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigs on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
What's up, everybody? It's Heisman Trophy winner Matt Leinart. I've got a podcast called Throwbacks with actor Jerry Ferrara where we'll be talking all things sports, but also so much more. We'll give you the behind-the-scenes stories from my days as the quarterback on an iconic college football team to Jerry's days as a star on an iconic TV series. So subscribe to Throwbacks wherever you download your podcast and follow us on all social media at Throwback Show.
The 1-1. Breaking ball, line drive, base hit, right field. Coming in to score, Bader. Acuna trying to score. Cruz throw home is offline. Acuna slides in and scores. And it's 6-0 New York. Iglesias stops at second. 2-run single from Marte. The Mets have exploded here in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Well, the Nats starting pitcher in this 10-0 loss at the Mets on Wednesday night was DJ Herz, and he ended up having a blow-up start. Now, he came into the game having been terrific recently. We've been talking about this. His previous 10 starts, ERA at 2.76, strikeouts per 9 innings of 10.47. Yeah, on Wednesday night, though, officially allowed 7 runs in 3 and a third innings. What is so odd about this is that he began his outing looking really good. 3 scoreless innings, including generating 3 swinging strikeouts in a perfect bottom of the 3rd. You're watching this game and you're saying to yourself, all right, DJ Herz is continuing this surge in the post-All-Star break portion of the season, but his outing completely unraveled in what ended up being a 9-run bottom of the 4th for the Mets. Herz in the inning officially allowed 7 runs on a double, 4 singles, and 2 walks. He in the outing gave up 6 hits, issued 3 walks, did have 5 strikeouts, but 83 pitches, 48 strikes, 35 balls. And this outing ended up really inflicting some serious damage on the DJ Herz ERA. You look at what he's done now at the major league level this regular season, 18 starts, the ERA now up to 4.30. This outing on Wednesday night raised his ERA from 3.70 to 4.30. We've talked about Herz. He actually hasn't pitched as many innings as you might think, and so an outing like this could really do some damage to that ERA. And unfortunately, that ERA went up by more than half a run with what happened in this game.
Well, I'll take it a step further. At the end of the 3rd inning, after the 3 scoreless to begin this game, the ERA was down to 3.56. And so in the span of 1/3 of an inning, because he only got 1 more out the rest of the way, he went from 3.56 to 4.30. That is ugly, and it's going to end up making his end of season totals look a whole lot less impressive. Now, kind of like the record, as we're talking about, does that really change the outlook and tell you, well, DJ Herz did not have nearly as good of a season as it looked like he might have? No, I don't think it does. But it forces you to dig a little deeper there and not just look at the bottom line, but to look at the process of how he got there and say, okay, one awful start here in September kind of ruined it for him. But I feel like with him, with Mitchell Parker, with Jake Irvin, even Mackenzie Gore, we've seen this happen too many times. One inning gets away from them and it really spirals out of control and it turns ugly. And that is an important next step for them all to take as they look ahead to next year. The blow-up innings will kill you, and it killed this team way too often and their young starting pitchers this season.
Absolutely. Your colleague at Masson has said it for years. Massive key for pitchers, avoid the big inning. He has said it over and over again, and it's so simple, but it's so true. Like, don't let an inning unravel into where your team gives up 9 runs. And that happened in that inning. Was it all on Herz? We'll get to Jacob Barnes here, but that was a rough inning for sure. And Davey Martinez, during his postgame session with you guys, in talking about why he removed Herz from the game, talked about the pitch count, but also said that he saw Herz getting frustrated out there. I thought that was interesting.
Felt like everything started speeding up on him. I saw he started getting a little frustrated, so we got him out of there. His pitch count got up there too.
Yeah, and we know DJ can have some emotions out there and that it's understandable when an inning is getting away from you, but at the same time, the good ones are able to stay level. And you give up a couple runs, okay, you got to refocus and say, minimize the damage, get out of this thing without it getting any worse. Next thing you know, he's out of the game. It's 4-0, but the bases are loaded with 1 out. And now you're just asking for more runs to come in. So that is another important step for him and for all of them. I feel like Irvin and Parker have been a little better in that regard at not letting their emotions maybe get the best of them. We've seen Mackenzie Gore at times obviously struggle with that. And that is something that I think DJ Herz is going to have to figure out. He's an excitable guy. He's not real calm out there, good or bad, on the mound. And that's okay. You can pitch with emotion. But when things do start to go south, you've got to learn how to keep it together, get through it, and turn that at least into a decent outing where you're not, being removed in the 4th inning. He threw 35 pitches that inning. It never should have gotten to that point.
So the Nats bullpen in this game, 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 3 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Those were, though, official totals. Jacob Barnes came in and really did make this game into a mess. He officially allowed 2 runs in 1 2/3 innings. He and the Mets' 9-run 4th allowed each of the first 2 batters he faced to reach base. Barnes gave up a 1-out 2-run opposite field single by Starling Marte to right field for a 6-0 Mets lead, and then gave up the big blow, a 1-out 3-run homer by Brandon Nimmo on a bomb to right center field for a 9-0 Mets lead. The homer went a projected 419 feet per Statcast. Barnes for a while was doing pretty well. He lately has really been struggling. Joe LaSorsa was good. He tossed 2 scoreless innings, but Zach Brixey, bottom of the 8th, allowed a run on a 1-out solo homer by Luis Angel Acuna to left field on a 1-2 pitch for a 10-0 Mets lead. Trevor Williams is coming back. He will be starting Game 2 at the Cubs Friday afternoon at 2:20. You wonder to what extent what we saw on Wednesday night from Nats relievers was a competition to see who, in fact, is the odd man out when the Nats have to make that roster move in the coming days here.
Yeah, I think we mentioned the other day that Brixey might be the leader in the clubhouse for that, and it didn't help his cause by giving up another home run. But he's young. He's got options. He was kind of called up as a reward for a really good season coming back from Tommy John surgery. I think there's still hope for him down the road, but my guess would be it probably goes to him. And that LaSorsa, while he's not always great, he does give you some length as one of their pseudo long men at this point, a third lefty reliever to have for them. So my hunch would be that he stays and Brixey goes. Doesn't mean it's the end of Brixey, like we won't see him again. But, I think for a lot of these guys, and Barnes is certainly in this category, they're pretty gassed at this point in the year. They've pitched a lot. It's not an excuse, but it's just a fact of where they are right now. They haven't made a lot of bullpen changes over the season. A lot of these guys have been here pretty much all the way through. We know how much they get used. You do get to this point in the season and you've pitched a lot and you see things get out of hand in some games. They've still got to dig deep here. 10 more games to go. And maybe the 6-man rotation helps the starters get a little extra rest. They're all going to pitch once a week now. The rest of the way, everybody gets a full week off before their next start because of off days and a 6-man rotation. Hopefully that leads to some longer starts, which maybe leads to fewer appearances for these relievers who are on fumes at this point.
Nats also have not had an off day in a while. We'll finally get one on Monday. Although, in talking about Trevor Williams, I mean, presumably he's not going to be out there for, 7-8 innings on Friday afternoon. Like you would think. It's probably a fairly short outing, right? 5 innings at best, maybe a little more than 5, but probably not much, I would think.
Yeah, and think about even when he was going really well early in the year, they were pulling him anyways. 5 scoreless, no problem. You're out of there after 80 pitches. So, yeah, they're not going to push him. I would think Patrick Corbin on Thursday, 100 pitches plus 6 innings, no matter the score.
Yes, Thursday is St. Paddy's Day. Patrick, wear it, my friend. However, you must wear it. So bad pitching for the Nats on Wednesday night. Bad hitting for the Nats on Wednesday night. The Nats in this 10-0 loss at the Mets. No runs, a mere 3 hits, which were a double and 2 singles, 3 walks, 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. Perhaps the most notable thing with the Nats offense in this game, Mets starting pitcher Jose Quintana, 7 scoreless innings, concluding a regular season in which he tossed 21 scoreless innings against the Nats. 7 scoreless innings in each of 3 starts. Nobody has watched more Nationals baseball than you. Have you ever seen an opposing pitcher dominate the Nats in a season the way that Quintana dominated the Nats this season?
No, because I looked it up, and it's the record by far for most innings without giving up a run against the Nationals in club history. The previous record was 16 by 3 guys, including Dylan Cease this year, that had the no-hitter and then the other dominant start against them in San Diego. But nobody's ever topped that many. So 21 scoreless. And I mean, it's not like they even were threatening against him. They had 1 runner in scoring position against him in the first inning. There was nothing going on. Now, I get it. Once you're down 9-0, you start taking quick at-bats. The innings were going by very quickly after that. But prior to that point, there wasn't much going on for them at the plate. And look, he's a good pitcher. He's pitched well down the stretch. He's been a big part of what the Mets have done this year. But do you think of Jose Quintana as a dominant opposing pitcher? No. So what was it? What was the magic combination that made him so good against the Nationals this year? I don't know, but you hope that, number one, they just don't have to face them 3 times next year. Or number 2, if they do, they got a better game plan because it did not work, whatever they tried this year.
No, it did not. I mean, he was 1985 Doc Gooden against the Nats this season. The breakdown of your Nationals' 3 hits on Wednesday night. So 2 of the hits were singles by CJ Abrams. He is the Nats starting shortstop and number 1 batter, 2 for 3 with a couple of singles. Abrams top of the first, leadoff single into right field despite having been down at 1.12. Abrams top of the third, 1-out single into right field. And the Nats double came from Darren Baker. Top of the 8th, a pinch leadoff first pitch, opposite field, ground rule double. Although this was not a shot off the center field warning track over the outfield wall. This was an opposite field ground rule double to no man's land in left field near foul territory. A double is a double. Good to see Baker get the hit. But that was it in terms of Nationals hits in this game. No Luis Garcia Jr. He left the Nats 10-1 loss at the Mets on Tuesday night due to a sore right wrist. We saw Jose Tena as the Nats starting second baseman and number 6 batter 0 for 3. Presumably Garcia, day-to-day with the wrist?
Yeah, day-to-day. So Davey wanted to play him. I know he hasn't played against lefties a lot, but he said he thought this was a good matchup for him against Quintana. He kind of wanted to put him in there, and the wrist was just sore enough that they didn't bother with it.
Quintana throws some high fastballs, which is good for Louis, but his wrist is bothering him. So we'll keep him out today and hopefully he can pinch hit.
We'll see on Thursday. I guess the good news is they're facing nothing but righties in Chicago, so there won't be a matchup issue for that. If Garcia doesn't go on Thursday, I'll be interested what they do. I think there's a case to be made here to give Darren Baker a start at second base. He bats left-handed. So you're not going to do it when Garcia sits against the lefty. But if he's already out and you're facing a righty anyways, do you need to see Ildemaro Vargas, or do you give Darren Baker an opportunity to maybe start one big league game before the season is up, and to do it in Chicago at Wrigley Field, where he grew up a lot with his dad managing the team? We'll see. I know Davey does care about the integrity of these games, and the Cubs are not eliminated yet, even though they're facing a really stiff challenge. But if Garcia can't go on Thursday, kind of personally, I'd like to see Darren Baker get a full 9 innings to go out there.
I think there's a lot of merit to that argument. I'm with you on that. Hey, Al Galdi here to tell you about the latest great offer from Window Nation for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. Call 866-90NATION or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. We are into September. Colder weather is coming. Now is a great time to replace your old inefficient windows with energy-efficient windows from Window Nation. Get a free, no-obligation quote now. 866-90NATION or windownation.com. Window Nation is the best. Window Nation can install your new windows in a day or less, and Window Nation's windows come with a lifetime warranty. With proven quality and service, it's no wonder that thousands of homeowners have trusted Window Nation for years. And take advantage of the great offer for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. 866-90NATION or windownation.com. That's 866-90NATION or windownation.com. And tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
1-2. He struck him out! Let the celebration begin! The Fredericksburg Nationals are the Carolina League champions! We've waited long to hear it! On the last day of the season, the Fred Nats raise a trophy for the first time in Fredericksburg and the first time in a decade for the franchise.
So we did have some very good news for the Nats organization on Wednesday, and it's kind of a 2-part good news item. So the Carolina League on Wednesday named starting pitcher Travis Sykora its Carolina League Pitcher of the Year. Excellent news there. Travis Sykora, a real riser in the Nats organization this year. The Nats took Sykora in the 3rd round of the 2023 MLB draft out of a high school in Texas. He this season, what was just his age 20 season, pitched for the Nats low A affiliate, the Fredericksburg Nationals, and he was outstanding. 20 starts, ERA of 2.33, a whip of 0.906, a strikeouts per 9 innings of 13.66. Sykora, now per MLB Pipeline, is the Nats' #1 pitching prospect. He, in fact, is a top 100 prospect, the number 92 overall prospect in baseball. And Sykora, on Wednesday night, helped the Fred Nats win the Carolina League Championship. So some good stuff from Sykora and some good stuff for the Fred Nats on Wednesday.
And some really dominant starts from him here down the stretch, including the clincher. 5 scoreless innings, 1 hit, 9 strikeouts, and no walks, I believe. This was a weird situation. It's a best-of-3 series. They won game 1 the other day on the road at Kannapolis. Then they were supposed to play Tuesday. It rained out. So they actually scheduled a doubleheader for Wednesday, where you play game 1, and if they had won, that would have been it. It would have been over. If you lose, you come back and play the second game. Each game 7 innings, though, for a championship, because they still go by the minor league rules. So a little bit of a caveat there, a little bit of a strange situation, but good for him for stepping up in the final game of the season and truly dominating. This is a kid with electric stuff. They knew coming out of high school in Texas how good the stuff was. They had to overpay him to convince him to sign and not go to college. So yes, 3rd round pick, but maybe 1st round talent kind of situation. And they were really high on him. You mentioned he's now in the top 100 in prospects to end the season. I'm betting when that new rankings come out next spring, he's going to be a big riser on that list, and the rest of the baseball world will have noticed. So between him and, as we've discussed, Harleen Susana, the steps he's taken this year, those are 2 guys with ace potential. Long way to go. We don't know how that's all going to work out, but ace potential someday to help this rotation out. That's the good news. The part we got to remember is they're so young. They still got a long way to go. They're still in A ball. Ideally, by the time these guys are big league ready, the Nationals are already a winning team. A couple years down the road, probably. You hope you're not still waiting for them to arrive to get you over the top and become a contender. So they are going to have to find a way to do it before they arrive. But if they do pan out to be who they're supposed to be, we may be talking in a few years about some real flamethrowers, ace-type stuff, joining a rotation that already looks impressive and is already trying to win with this team. And now sort of taken them over the top to another level as they try to become consistent winners a few years down the road.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's unrealistic to think that, say, in 2026, Sykora and Susana are major league ready at some point. And so if next season the Nats take a step forward, but maybe don't make the postseason or maybe make the postseason as a wild card, then in that second year of the Nats being a good team, you can perhaps have both Sykora and Susana at the major league level. We'll see. You know, Sykora was so good this season for the Fred Nats, but he was with the Fred Nats. He did not get promoted to, say, High A Wilmington. Is that surprising that he made all 20 of these starts and was great for the Fred Nats, but was not elevated at any point?
Not necessarily. I think when you're talking about somebody in their first professional season, you like to establish a routine and not shake that up too much. So even though he was really good and clearly dominated that level, you don't necessarily have to move him up and kind of start all over at another level. What it would be interesting to see is next year, he'll pretty clearly start at Wilmington High A. If that goes well, if he's still really enjoying success there in the first half, now you can make that next step and finish next year at Double A. And now you're talking about what you just mentioned, the possibility of him being big league ready in 2026. But I think for a first professional season, it's not the worst thing in the world to just set up shop someplace, pitch every fifth day, establish a routine, and obviously enjoy success. And good for him and them because he helped them win a championship, which I know winning in the minor leagues is not priority number one. But if you have the opportunity to win, you might as well do it and get some experience with that. Now they know what it's like to be in a pennant race and to win a playoff series with everything on the line. And maybe someday he and other members of that team are going to have the opportunity to do that at a much higher level of baseball.
And given the issues that the Nats have had in their minor league system in recent years, I think you have success like this, you enjoy it, you celebrate it, and that the success has come thanks in large part to a guy like Sykora, a third-round pick who now is a top 100 prospect. That's even more reason to celebrate what the Fred Nats have done. So congrats to them. Awesome stuff. This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Mason Kalfas and his team of 10 legal recruiters at Zenith Legal in Washington, D.C. Check out Mason's website today, zenithlegal.com, or call or text Mason anytime, 202-486-3535. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on our website, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt, all Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat, courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
It's an 0-2 count for Sykora to work with, and he gets them on 3 pitches, goes off speed. The 0-2 once more. That'll do it. 1, 2, 3. All swinging, all strikeouts. He's up to 8.